Vice Admiral Vinod Pashika. I was the CNC when I was ex-Okaka. Air Marshal Bhushan Gokhale, Captain Anand Dixit, President IMF, Commodore Rajan Veer, President Emeritus IMF, Vice Admiral Kochar, Commandant NDA, Dr. Malini Shankar, VCIMU, Shri Jayant Patil, Vice President L&D Defense, Vice Admiral Subedar, Admiral Nadkarni, who has organized all this. We've many distinguished veterans and officers here who have had the opportunity to work with, and I'm really grateful to you for grooming me throughout my career. And many of them are here. And Vice Admiral Vadgaonkar, Admiral Patham, Admiral Ghormade, Major General Mahajan, whom I actually took over the Directorate of Military Affairs from Major General Malve. We did the NHC course together. I have Admiral Deshpande, trying to work with them in the naval headquarters. Commodore Ajay Chitness. I've also worked with Commodore AJ Singh in the DNP. And we have other distinguished people here. Captain Ravindra Hajar Navis, Mr. Sahai Raj is here. And we are happy that Shivaji is also here. All other distinguished guests whom I have not mentioned, Krishnan is here, whom I have had the opportunity to work, and there are many more senior people here. So thank you very much. And Cody also. So these are opportunities to be here amongst all of you, and put some of my thoughts because it's really an honor and privilege for me to deliver the keynote address of the seminar, which is being organized by IMF on a very topical issue of present challenges of shipbuilding in India and way ahead. This topic is extremely relevant because not only for both India as a nation and the Indian Navy as a fighting force, because growth of the indigenous shipbuilding industry has really multiple advantages for the nation, and it's in the realm of economic growth as well as self-reliance in defense production. So I really thank the Indian Maritime Foundation to have conducted and hosting this seminar. I'm really confident that this seminar will throw up many good issues, and it will work as a springboard which can be taken forward, which can actually work as prospects for future shipbuilding industry in India. As you are all aware that the shipbuilding industry is of great strategic importance and has the potential to significantly increase employment prospects, along with having a multiplier effect on the economy directly and indirectly. This sector has direct and indirect positive impact on leading ancillary industries such as steel, aluminium, electrical machinery, and various equipment, including the defense equipment. Besides, it has got a huge dependence on the infrastructure and service sectors. A successful shipbuilding sector has been pivotal for rapid and robust economic development of most countries which have long coastal boundaries. So if we observe the historical trends, we see that growth in shipbuilding has been both a precursor and a catalyst to overcome economic prowess of a nation. Europe and the UK in the colonial era, United States in the early and mid 20th century, Japan and Korea in the second half of 20th century, and more recently China in the last 2-3 decades have all displayed the same trend. As our government of India has envisioned to make India a $5 trillion economy and a global powerhouse in the future, shipbuilding as an industry has the greatest potential to significantly contribute towards this endeavor. Further, today, our local is also going global. And as I see here, Pune is one of the largest industrial hubs of the country. And there are large number of MSMEs who have emerged in the last few years. And with the amount of incentives being given, and I would actually request all the veteran senior officers here who've got lots of experience with them to identify good set of MSMEs and recommend them to the naval headquarters, especially on the services, so that we can take forward what great achievements they are doing and where we can use our defense shipbuilding, etc. And these inputs given to us to the Directorate of Indigenization, we will take it forward so that we utilize those. We even have a Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization, which was set up in August 20, which we are working very closely with the private industry so that we develop large number of technologies which can be implemented very quickly. Also, we have had a record merchandise export of $400 billion last year. This figure will definitely be surpassed this year, as our merchandise exports have touched $117 billion in the first quarter of the current financial itself. And this has been the highest ever for our country. A vast volume of these exports inevitably will transit over the seas. And there is thus an immense potential to be part of this growing trade by supplying quality merchant ships as well. Increase in demand for maritime trade over the years has caused consistent growth of global shipbuilding industry in the past. While Europeans are still our global leaders in building passenger ships and ferries, the Indo-Pacific region has a maximum global orders for oil and gas carriers, bulk carriers, cargo ships, and container vessels, and has emerged as the fastest growing market in the shipbuilding sector, with China and South Korea alone capturing about 60% of market share in merchant shipbuilding. The Indian shipbuilding industry has also witnessed a period of growth, riding on the stimulus of global demand, which happened from 2003 onwards. It was during this period that the market share of Indian yards in terms of global orders grew from 0.2 to 1.2% during the 5-year period between 2002 to 2007. This was actually projected to go up to 7.5% by 2017. Unfortunately, the global downturn, along with withdrawal of the government subsidy in 2007 and relatively low competitiveness of our shipyards, resulted in reduced demand of the ships. This then followed by the global recession in 2008 and fall in oil prices played a major spoilsport by leading to large-scale cancellation of export orders. While this commercial shipbuilding industry has faced difficult times, naval or the defense shipbuilding industry has a different story to tell. Our far-sighted predecessors, as was brought out by Admiral Pashricha also, sowed the seeds of self-reliance in shipbuilding by setting up India's own warship design organization, which later became the nucleus of all major warship building activities in the country. The first major step was the licensed production of Leander-class frigates, which was a great flash by Admiral Pashricha. Of course, we had the first ship of Ajay built by GRSE in 1960. These Leander-class ships built in Mazagon docks laid the foundation of Indian Navy's transition from buyer's navy to a builder's navy. You are all aware that the Directorate of Naval Design, Surface Ship Group, has been recently rechristened as Warship Design Bureau. And this is meant to not only transform, but to take on additional responsibilities. Indigenous design and construction of warships has been a learning experience for us. Indian shipyards have built some of the most complex frontline warships and submarines. Our constant endeavor has been to evolve from our experiences and enhance operational availability of our platforms. We are also focusing to enhance the indigenous content in our warships. The delivery of indigenous aircraft carrier, along with the design and indigenous construction of ongoing 38 of the 40 warships and submarines in India, reiterates our commitment to further develop indigenous warship design and construction capability, and we will be fully self-reliant or Atmanirbhar. Let me take a pause here and speak more about Atmanirbharta, which is of course flavor of the season. We have to understand that our quest for Atmanirbharta is not an isolated policy or vision. It is part of a large transformative changes which are underway in India, in which Indian Navy has been in the forefront for many years now. Complementing this goal, the government has launched several initiatives such as revamping the defense production and export promotion policy, increasing the foreign direct investment in the defense sector, and developing defense industrial corridors, to name a few. I can proudly say that with the dedicated efforts of over 2.5 decades, along with the help of DRDO, Indian industry, Directorate of Ordnance, and through joint development with foreign partners, we have been able to indigenize weapons, sensors, and major shipboard systems. These, to name a few, are medium-range surface-to-air missiles, torpedoes, rocket launchers, anti-submarine warfare systems, combat management systems, communication suits, and electronic warfare systems. As is the practice in all countries, localization of shipbuilding with use of maximum indigenized content is our priority. While we have taken strides towards this objective, there is still headroom available to achieve further self-reliance to enable strategic independence, particularly in the equipment and systems pertaining to propulsion, weapons, and sensors. As on date, our industry partners have a clear idea and understanding of the kind of technology the Indian Navy envisages to induct in the coming years. While the growth of shipbuilding in defense sector has been impressive, commercial shipbuilding in India has been struggling in comparison to countries like China, South Korea, Japan, and other European countries. And there is a huge untapped potential in this sector, which needs to be harnessed for the overall benefit in the maritime sector and for furthering our economic growth. Shipbuilding industry, when I see, is actually an industry of industries. About 60 to 65% of value addition to a ship under construction comes from manufacture of shipboard material, equipment, and systems. The shipyard by itself adds about only 35% of value by constructing the ship and integrating these equipment and systems. Therefore, akin to the automotive industry, shipbuilding industry has the potential of creating an ecosystem of supporting industry to cater to its ancillary requirements. I'm proud to place on record that despite the limited ancillary industry in the Indian shipbuilding ecosystem, Indian Navy has achieved a very high level of indigenization in the float component, that is hull material and systems. And we have about 50 to 60% indigenization in the move components involving large number of engineering and electrical systems. Just take the case of Vikrant, which was mentioned by Admiral Pasricha also. Commissioning of Vikrant early this month was indeed a red letter day for the entire nation, and especially for the Indian Navy. Not only has the Vikrant's construction fostered an indigenous ecosystem for niche shipbuilding in a major spin-off, it has also made us self-reliant in the field of warship grade steel. In addition, I wanted to tell about the fight component. We just missed that slide. It remains an area in which we are working hand in hand with DRDO, TPSUs, and private industries. And this is to enhance indigenization content. And I'm confident that we have a very bright future in this part for our indigenous weapon systems and sensor systems. The development and production of this indigenous steel through partnership between Navy, DRDO, are you with me now?
With some problem, the slides are failing. You can go ahead with it.
So what I was telling about was development and production of the indigenous steel through partnership between Navy, DRDO, and Steel Authority of India actually symbolizes how an unflinching quest of Atmanirbharta can lead to unprecedented rates. And this now has happened that all our ships which are under construction are being made with the indigenous steel. That itself has promoted a large industry now. In spite of all the advantages that the shipbuilding has to offer, its huge potential has remained underutilized. The most important issue we have realized in the absence, the previous slide, of centralized body focusing on growth of shipbuilding sector. At present, there are a large number of organizations and agencies and departments within the government that oversee policies related to the seas. Consequently, we have not been able to coherently exploit the potential wealth of our exclusive economic zone of 2.3 million square kilometers. Further, for a matured shipbuilding industry, the commercial shipbuilding and defense shipbuilding should complement each other. While significant progress has been made in the warship construction, as I highlighted earlier, the commercial shipbuilding has not kept pace. The prime reason for this is lack of a shipbuilding ecosystem in the country and a long-term perspective planning for India's commercial fleet. There are dearth of shipbuilding orders in the private shipbuilding sector. Development of ancillary industry supporting the shipbuilding has also been suboptimal in the commercial shipbuilding. We have challenges in the form of underdeveloped infrastructure, inadequate innovation, and less investments in R&D as compared to the advanced shipbuilding nations like Korea, Japan, and China. In India, there are less than a dozen firms that have basic ship design expertise. Some of these are standalone design units that do not have manufacturing facilities, but team up with shipyards to form consortiums that leverage each other's competencies. In addition to these issues, financial barriers also add to the existing woes of the shipbuilding industry. As was also briefly brought out by Admiral Pasricha, in India, the interest rate on loan taken for development infrastructure is large. Further, a typical shipyard requires a working capital of around 25 to 35% of the cost of the ship. The interest rates on working capital in India averages to 10.5%. On the other hand, the interest rates presently offered to shipbuilding yards overseas are considerably lower at around 5 to 6% in Korea and 4 to 8% in China. Taxation in India is also very stringent for the domestic industry. High taxation creates a cost differential which directly impedes the global competitiveness of our shipbuilding companies and shipyards, squeezing their operating margins. High cost of credit, high taxes on indigenous equipment, and high duties on imports of machinery such as marine engines, propulsion package, ship management and navigation systems, etc., together make shipbuilding a non-competitive sector. This is the reason while our shipyards have the capability, they are not globally competitive. Thus, in such instances, the nation is dependent on foreign participation, having the wherewithal to address the challenges domestically. Therefore, what should be the way ahead? There is a requirement of examining these issues with a whole of government approach and employ measures both at policy and working level to revitalize shipbuilding in India. So I'll talk about some of the measures that could help revival of shipbuilding in the country. To ensure targeted development of shipbuilding and ship repair sector, there is a need to establish a dedicated department of shipbuilding at the Ministry of Shipping, Ports and Waterways. So at present, we have a Ministry of Shipping, Port and Waterways, and shipbuilding and ship repair comes under the shipping part. Now, this shipping part has got many more issues than the shipbuilding and ship repair as a factor. So we need positively an empowered monitoring authority, which may be headed by a secretary level officer who could be appointed to undertake national level coordination to facilitate clearances through a single window system that ensure that bottlenecks for investment in the sector are removed. This proposed department could be empowered to coordinate all aspects pertaining to shipbuilding industry, spanning across ministries, because it has got many links with other ministries. This agency could formulate policy and regulatory roadmaps to monitor all developments in the maritime domain. This may include policies related to consolidation of demand for ships and offshore structures, capacity and infrastructure augmentation of yards, setting up of avenues for low interest funding of shipyards and ancillary industries. And this also should be related with formulation of medium-term and long-term plans for development of India's shipbuilding sector. For enabling our shipyards to attain that critical mass, we need to increase shipbuilding demand. Few points which will come to my mind are to focus on ways and means to enhance share of Indian-built ships in overseas trade, and of course, replacement of the aging Indian fleet. Formulation of policy on repair and maintenance of all Indian flagged vessels exclusively at Indian shipyards, and judicial exploitation of inland waterways for increased domestic trade. There could be greenfield initiatives by Indian shipyards for specialized platforms, vessels, and they should be exempted from goods and services tax on shipbuilding and ship repair. This would incentivize them to compete with global shipyards and attract foreign investments and or technology transfer from foreign shipyards. These measures, if implemented, are likely to augment a sustained demand in the near future itself, that is next 5 to 10 years. In addition, I feel that there has to be collaboration between all the shipyards, whether big or small, public or private, and that is the need of the hour. PSU shipyards have expertise in defense shipbuilding with their available resources and vast experience in warship building. They have the requisite infrastructure, whereas the private shipyards, on the other hand, bring in efficient management and capabilities with them. Therefore, in a country like ours, defense and commercial shipbuilding should complement each other for mutual growth of the shipbuilding ecosystem. To achieve such a collaboration among them, we may look at the options of public-private partnerships or joint ventures, partnerships with PSUs and shipyards. Now, these joint ventures and partnerships between private and public sector could result in private yards gaining much needed experience in construction of mega blocks, and PSU shipyards in turn could master modern integration and advanced outfitting techniques beside handling complex managerial issues. So I would say, for an example, the partnership of MDL with Shaft and Chogle shipyard for our P-15 Bravo and P-17 Alpha ships, and GRSE with L&T for survey vessel large and also ASW shallow water craft is a good beginning in this direction. If we have a conglomerate of our shipyards, then we will compete with the world rather than competing with each other. And then we would be able to get much more export orders. Creation of maritime clusters are also vital for the growth of shipbuilding and repair industry, as they provide the ancillary services, manufacturing of ancillary products, maritime services, and financial services for the industry. And therefore, they would cultivate the entire ecosystem for the industry. Presently, Sri Perumpudur in Tamil Nadu has been identified for development of a maritime cluster as part of the National Perspective Plan of the Sagarmala program. Similarly, cluster formation is in progress for developing a marine shipbuilding park in Gujarat. So India needs much more such clusters for overall development of our shipbuilding ecosystem. In the last 5 to 6 years, the central government has undertaken many initiatives towards revitalization of shipbuilding and development of a mature ecosystem of shipbuilding and ship repair in the country. This is with beginning of the financial assistance policy for 10-year period and grant of infrastructure status in 2016 to Atmanirbhar policy and Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana in 2020. All such measures are aimed at increasing the gross tonnage from 27,000 tons in 2020 to 5 lakh gross tonnage in 2030, with creation of more than 1 lakh additional jobs in this sector. However, these initiatives are gaining the required momentum progressively. Therefore, formation of a special purpose vehicle by way of National Shipbuilding and Shipping Finance Corporation under the Companies Act 2013 to overcome capital infrastructure investment and constraints, besides evolving taxation policies for global competitiveness, is also recommended. The present system of subsidy offered to shipbuilders needs review, as the subsidy is inadequate, meager, and also complicated. A suitable organization could be assigned the task to undertake consultative study on rationalization of taxation and tax incentives for competitiveness with the foreign shipyards. The government has also planned to achieve export of 350 billion in defense goods and services by 2025. Shipbuilding can play a vital role in achieving this goal. Naval shipbuilding projects can have strategic spin-offs for the economy, especially for the shipbuilding industry. Some of the shipyards have already exported OPVs size ships to countries in our neighborhood, and there is a large demand of ships in the Indian Ocean region and area. Further, there is a need to attract the foreign direct investment in shipbuilding sector, which is currently a weak point. FDI from shipbuilding majors, whether in the form of investment in Indian private shipyards or in the form of joint venture companies, has the potential to infuse new technology and spur growth in the Indian shipbuilding capabilities. Such partnerships have the potential to convert India into a strategic hub for shipbuilding exports. A comparison with the Indian auto industry also may be in order, where focused investments have transformed Make in India into Make for the World, with the auto industry contributing nearly 7% to India's GDP. To attract FDI in the commercial shipbuilding sector, it may be necessary to rope in the services of Ministry of External Affairs, which has a spread of commercial wings in India's overseas missions across the world, and also of the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It is very vital that the efficiency and effectiveness of shipyards and industry must be benchmarked to global standards with incorporation of global best practices. The yearly MOU targets with Department of Public Enterprises for PSU shipyards need to be reviewed based on performance indices determined by demonstrated performance on build period, cost, quality metrics on ongoing naval, coast guard, and other projects. Benchmarking of shipyards would also enable identification of Indian shipyards which are at par with contemporary global players based on the key performance indicators. Shipyards which are below benchmark standards may be either merged with nearby better performing shipyard or may be incentivized to give them a chance to compete with better placed shipyards. There should be a distinct capability with each and every PSU shipyard within the country for construction of specific type of vessel such as destroyers, frigates, corvettes, and OPVs, etc. Thereafter, utilization of such capability may be ensured by adopting a policy-based mechanism to grant orders for specific vessels which could be on nomination basis to the conglomerate or consortium of shipyards to build ships faster and of better quality. Therefore, it's very important that the shipyards, if they come together and start building ships together, which is being followed very much in China, and if we use the same approach, we will be able to achieve. Because this similar approach could be extended for construction of commercial ships with public and private shipyards as per the capability. Ship design capability in India is at a basic level as compared to other Asian leaders in the field, such as China, South Korea, or Japan. Presently, most of the designs are imported from abroad in full or part, and there is no noteworthy innovation or indigenous R&D in this field. There is a need to encourage development of indigenous shipbuilding design capabilities and provide fiscal benefits to be given to R&D investments as they are also given in the pharma sector. I would like to conclude my address by reiterating the significance of shipbuilding industry towards nation building. Though indigenous warship design and construction capabilities has grown significantly in India, there is large scope for further growth for naval shipbuilding. The ongoing modernization process through indigenous means aims to create capabilities for accomplishing a range of missions across the entire spectrum of threats and challenges, and in all four domains that the Indian Navy operates, that is the surface, subsurface, land, and on air. Besides, on the long-term capability development plan of the Navy, I can firmly state that the future Indian Navy will be operating next generation platforms ranging from aircraft carriers, destroyers, frigates, corvettes, LPDs, nuclear powered submarines, and a wide variety of aviation assets like fighters, air early warning aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft, helicopters, unmanned platforms, and we are in a big way going to the unmanned platforms. All of these would necessarily have indigenous state-of-art systems with cutting-edge technology and robust architecture to provide us with the requisite combat capability. In the past year itself, we have inducted first of the P-15 driver ships, that is INS Visakhapatnam. We have inducted two new Kalvari class submarines, Vela and Karanj. We have inducted the indigenous aircraft carrier Vikrant in the Smarnim Vijay Varsh, and that is a befitting tribute to the indigenization efforts of the Indian Navy. To infuse latest technology and products into Indian Navy, the Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization, NIIO, and Technology Development and Acceleration Cell, TDAC, has been set up since August 20, and this actively engages with the private industry to innovate and indigenize naval systems. In fact, we have a meeting every month with the private industry, and we have a VC in which we discuss various systems, we take them forward, and we are also coming out with lots of new solutions. Further, given the complexity and technology-intensive nature of naval systems, enhanced interaction through the NIIO with private sector, we have really pursued it relentlessly to form a partnership model rather than a mere customer and supplier relationship. In the last NIIO seminar, which most of you would have seen on the TV, which happened in July 2022, the Honorable Prime Minister launched 75 challenges. Actually, we have more than that challenges, but we are going to positively achieve 75 because being the 75th year of our Indian independence, this has been done under the IDEX sprint to induct new technologies and products into the Indian Navy. And this all will be done in a time-bound manner of 1 year by the next 15th August. I would also like to assure the audience of Navy's unrelenting focus on indigenous ship construction and capacity development. We are committed to partnering with the Indian industry in our collective quest for greater self-reliance. With that, let me wish the seminar and the participants a great amount of success. Thank you very much.